Hi, I'm Greg with Southern Nevada Off-Road Recovery, also with Desert Wranglers Jeep Club. I'm a trail leader with Desert Wranglers. I'm sitting here with Keith. He's actually the trail master for Desert Wranglers Jeep Club. And we've got a special video for you here today. In part, it's a SNORR recovery, but in part, it's the end of an after run of a Desert Wranglers Jeep Club trail run. So first I'd like to introduce Keith. Keith, thanks for joining us. You're a star in this video as well.
Me and my Jeep.
You and your Jeep. So this was an interesting run. If I remember right, we had a Desert Wranglers Jeep run in the morning. We've become notorious for our after runs.
Yes.
Half dozen Jeeps stay on after and want to do something a little more challenging than the basic morning run. So we had done some stuff. I actually had plans. I had left this run and left a few of you guys to do some more exploring. I thought you guys were about a half hour behind me on the trail. I'm about an hour home, and I'm almost home, and I get a call from Kendra, Ed's wife, who's with him on this run in one of the white Jeeps here. And she is in an absolute desperate panic that Keith has rolled over.
Wow.
Well, my first thought is you guys are 30 minutes behind me on the freeway.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking you've rolled over on the freeway, and she's so panicked she can't talk. And I'm asking if you're okay, what's going on? Keith rolled over, Keith rolled over. And I said, is Terry or is somebody else there? She said, yeah, we're all standing here looking at it. Now I'm a little puzzled that Keith's rolled over on the side of the freeway. We're all standing here looking at it. And I don't remember if I said put Terry on the phone or put Cosman on the phone, but one of them gets on the phone and I said, is Keith okay? He said, yeah, he just slipped off the trail in a ditch. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really roll over. But the interesting thing is people that don't see trail accidents and don't see vehicles off the side of the road, the instinct is panic.
That's true.
It's a rollover, it's desperation. We don't know what we're doing. So I get the call and I say, okay, well, I'm 5 minutes from home. Sherry and I were getting ready to go to dinner, and I called her and I said, hey, we're going to do a little detour on the way to our dinner date, and we're going to go help these guys out. She said, I'm in, grab me. So I picked Sherry up and we're driving almost an hour back.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you're here in this situation waiting for us to get there.
Yeah.
Tell us what the morning looks like, how you get to this place. I'm assuming you didn't drive right into this hole,
no,
but the road gave way. So,
which is interesting because I was asked a lot, how does an experienced off-roader, rock crawler, etc., 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 I could go on for days. But anyway, how do I end up in a ditch? And the simple example, the simple reason is I wasn't paying attention. I just saw a butterfly, or I was mining. I think I was actually looking in the mirror, see, because there's a turn right before here, to see if everyone else is behind me still. I only had, 3 Jeeps behind me. Just find them. Next thing I know, I think I'm supposed to be going forward, but I feel like I'm going sideways, and there's dirt coming in. I'm going, what the hell is going on?
So the message I got was rollover.
Right.
But this isn't a roll over.
No.
Is it even a violent slide into the hill?
No, it wasn't even a violent slide. It was interesting because I'm sliding, I'm still moving, and being in this situation totally confused, Ed seemed like he was on my Jeep opening the door like Spider-Man before he even stopped. That wasn't the case, but that's what it felt like.
So kind of like slow motion.
Slow motion.
Slide into this hole.
Yeah, I slid right into it. Next thing I know, he's on top trying to pull me out. I'm going, wait, let me get my bearings here to find out what happened. And once I realized I slid off into a thing, he got me out, and I'm going, wow, this one's different. So
you're not panicked, you're not injured,
no.
Nothing's broken, it doesn't roll over, Jeep doesn't turn off. It's just kind of
it's a good scenario to crash this way. It's a slow motion slide into an embankment. And what's interesting is if I would have gone up here, I would have rolled, because this is wide open here.
Yeah.
Behind the Jeep, there's a wide open, there's not a ridge there, so I would have rolled.
Did anybody walk up and tell you, Keith, you can't park here?
What do you think, Tim?
I think it's upside down. You can't park here.
I mean,
no, but they should have.
They should have.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're driving down the road, maybe not paying attention. Left side slides a little bit off the road, and then the road kind of gives away. So this is a soft, slow motion slide down into this hole.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and we'll kind of see what's going on here. And
but to show you how skillful I am, You see my contents in the back are still there.
I see you didn't spill the cooler.
I didn't spill the cooler. Everything's still attached. That's a skillful crash.
That is. You did about the least amount of damage for us to do the most amount of work. So
A lot of work.
I'm going to go ahead and roll into this video, and we'll see how this recovery starts. And then we're going to get it from another perspective, and we'll show the rigging and how we actually got you out.
Cool.
Yeah, so we actually have this video from two different perspectives. This is Kendra standing on this side, and she's shooting it once we're rigged up. And then in a few minutes, we'll show the other side, and we'll talk about how you got there and what you guys were doing while you were waiting for me. But this kind of shows the rigging and pulling out from the back. We'll talk about it again in a second, but my number one goal is always get the paint off the rocks. So when we see this from the front, somebody may have said that the white Jeep up the hill could have just pulled you straight forward. Truth is, we probably could have pulled you straight forward out of there, but we would have dragged the left side of your Jeep all the way up the bank.
Yeah, I would have left a mess on the Jeep. There it goes. Woo-hoo. Blew a bead.
Good thing there's a spare.
I tell you one thing, it was very interesting watching you guys work. Methodical on how to twist and pull from one direction to another to get this out.
You know, the interesting thing is there's not one specific recipe. Sometimes there's more than one way to skin a cat, and often we'll hook up, put a little pressure on it, tension the line, see what it does, and then you got to stop and reevaluate.
Yeah.
And you know, we haven't left one behind. Our goal was always do not do more damage than has already been done. So we're putting a little pressure on it. We're trying to pull it sideways up the hill. Doesn't seem to be going. You're going to see in a second here, I'm going to jump down in the hole with a shovel and try to move some gear. So standing there watching this, I mean, obviously you were in the Jeep when it slid down in the hole, and then you get out and you're watching this. Are you thinking, you know, holy cow, there goes my ride, and it's totaled and it's wrecked, or are you just kind of still in shock wondering what the heck happened?
Actually, after I went into it, before you arrived, I was very hot, first of all. They took good care of me. And I wasn't overly nervous about the whole thing. When I looked at it, the Jeep was still basically intact. There was nothing hit hard. I mean, I just slid into a embankment. So I wasn't really worried. Oh, here's what's interesting about this. I have to mention this. This is my Jeep in the hole.
Right.
I got all these guys trying to pull it out, and I do my part. I hand you the shovel so you can dig out the dirt.
You're smarter than the rest of us.
I thought that was kind of fun. But to be honest, they wouldn't let me do anything, so I just kind of wandered around.
Keith, get out of that danger zone.
You know, I'm not going to try to put words in your mouth, but often when we go to these recoveries, the people that have slid off the road, they're panicked, they're in shock, they don't know what they're doing. So sometimes it's hard to get them to participate, and sometimes it's better just to ask them to stand aside and let us get them back on the road and tell them, here's your car, now drive home.
I think that's a better practice. I mean, I wasn't, I knew I was in good hands. Everything was, you know, I felt great. Hot, but I felt great.
Hot because you were stressed, or hot because this was in the summer?
I think it was because it was in the summer in the middle of the desert in Logandale. One of my favorite playgrounds.
So it's hard to tell from this angle, but
Here we
there we go. So here's an angle from the other side.
This was actually talking about before you arrived.
Well, you know what we can try is anchor the Jeep. See if we can break some of this ledge apart and see where we're at. Yeah. You know, I'm saying that.
So this is the time I get the call and I'm driving back and you guys are evaluating the situation. Right. And you can see there's some dirt on the hood and you don't really have a clean path to get out of there. So you guys do a lot of digging to build a ramp before I even get back.
Yeah, they got down here in the front and started making a way to get it out. Because you can see the tires off the ground. I'm pretty much sideways there.
Yeah, it was hard to tell from the other angle, but you're literally on the driver's side, and there's not a smooth ramp out. So you guys did a lot of shoveling before I got there.
Yeah, these guys digged right in, to coin a phrase.
So the triangular approach here and there.
So this is the conversation and the thought process that happens on every one. Show up, evaluate, discuss a couple options, everybody vote. Hey, what's the safest? What's the best way to get this out? So that conversation had taken place. I've arrived now. You can see down there in front of the Jeep, you got a nice smooth ramp out.
Yeah, they dug off that whole corner there. It was protruding.
So our first concern is always try to get the paint off the rocks. So instead of pulling this thing forward where we could scratch it, we want to pull this thing directly 90 degrees to the passenger side. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 Jeeps directly off the side here. We're going to hook 2 winches up, pulling you up sideways off of the rocks. And then I'm sitting up the hill there by Terry in the yellow shirt. His Jeep's actually behind me. And since I'm going to be pulling on a downhill, this is Terry. Terry's strapped to the back of my Jeep. He's over the crest of the hill holding me so I don't pull myself down the hill towards you. I'm facing down this steep hill, and I'm going to be pulling forward as those 2 Jeeps are pulling sideways. And you'll see as we start rigging this thing, we probably don't need pulleys to double the pulling power of our winches, but not only does a pulley double the pulling power of the winches, it cuts this travel speed in half.
Oh.
So everything that you do now is happening at half the speed. It gives you twice as long to see what it's doing, to evaluate, and reconsider what you're doing. So Terry in the yellow shirt's going to hook a winch with a with a static strap to the frame rails, and we're going to use that winch to try to pull you straight up off of the bank. And then Cosman in the blue shirt here, he's going to hook a winch off the front bumper, again, to pull the front sideways. So here we're rigging up. And this is an interesting application of traction boards. A lot of people don't know this, but traction boards can be put under tires to give you traction to come out, but they've got nice slots right down the middle.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, the most valuable use for a traction board is actually to protect your rope. So you can see here in these pictures, instead of dragging the winch ropes across the dirt, we've got a nice soft smooth piece of plastic that we're using as a runner to protect the winch lines. So we've got 2 winch lines pulling directly sideways, one off the front, one off the frame, and then I'm up the hill pulling you. So as we put tension on these, you're going to see the Jeep come right up off the side on the dirt. Once it's basically hanging in the air, we're going to start pulling it forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to protect the ropes. That's a brilliant use. Last thing you want those things chewed up by rocks and have them snap when you're not.
No, protect the expensive parts. And on your Jeep, the expensive part is the paint repair. So we're going to try to do as little damage as possible. And you're going to see here in a minute, when we pull sideways, the Jeep's going to come right up off the dirt. So you see, as Cosman starts to pull, we're already starting to tip it over and pull it up off the dirt.
Oh, just right now?
So
Sweet.
we've got traction boards protecting the front 2 winches, the winch on the side, on the back, on the side of the Jeep. We've got 2 straps hooked to the frame rail, and we've laid the straps up over the dirt because that's too sharp of an angle really to get a traction board in there. Static straps are inexpensive compared to a winch rope, so we've got the straps dragging on the side of the hill. Winch rope is just pulling straight back to the vehicle. So this is the same angle we were looking at a few minutes ago. Kendra was videoing it from the back. You couldn't really see what was going on the front. But we start pulling on this thing, but your front left tire is still buried in the dirt, and we can't get it to come up. So I'm going to jump down in there with a shovel, move some of the dirt from the front of that tire so that we can start pulling it up out of the hole. So you're actually standing behind me here.
Yes.
You've got the same perspective as this camera. What are you thinking as you're watching this?
I am just wondering what the side looks like. I was actually sweating my paint job and what damage it does. As much as I take this thing and pinstripe it all over the place, I was worried about how much paint was gone or what damage I've done.
Did you think you had sheet metal damage at this point?
I did. I thought the side may be caved in.
No. Don't get it dirty or whatever you do. I don't want my Jeep to get dirty.
That's a great line.
You dirty it, you wash it.
Well, I'm glad I didn't dirty it and I didn't scratch it.
No, that was my concern. And when you come out, you can see the obvious damage, the mirror smashing up against it. And that was about it. A couple scratches here and there, but nothing major. I did lose my trail emblem, though. That really upset me.
Have you replaced it yet, or is
No,
it
it's still empty.
it's war paint at this point? So you're sitting on the side here. We're pulling on it, but that left front tire is kind of buried in there. It's not on that steep of an angle, so we have Terry jump in there and go ahead and try to start it. We're going to see if we can use a little bit of drive pressure and pull it out at the same time. So here you can see we're trying to pull it up out of there, and it's not really coming up out of there.
Yeah, the tires are all pointing the wrong direction.
So we're going to try to turn that wheel hard right and see if we can't get the tires angled out. You can see on that front right tire there, we're starting to put some pressure on the side of that tire, and we're concerned about pulling the tire off the bead, which is going to happen here in just a second,
Yep.
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So you can see the Jeep is moving to the left in this picture. The back end was up off the ground. So you can see here, there's a foot of airspace between the side of the dirt and the side of the Jeep. So we're not in jeopardy of causing any more damage to the side of the Jeep. We're just trying to get it to come up out of the hole. Here we lose a bead, which isn't a big deal. We can either put the spare on, or as long as we don't get dirt up inside the tire, we're just going to reseat that bead and drive it out, which is what we end up doing. So here we have Terry start it. You're going to see he's going to turn the wheel to the right.
Anybody know what that's old?
Since it's running, put it in for low and forward and see what happens.
There's part of that. Try something and evaluate and see what happens.
Yeah, that was a good idea. At least get some momentum to turn the tires. I'm glad it started up quite easily, actually.
At any point in this, are you wondering if it's going home on a trailer, if you're driving it home? I know you were concerned about paint damage, but are you?
Yeah,
wondering how
no,
you
actually,
know?
after he started it, I was pretty comfortable that I'll be able to drive it home. The tire I knew would be either the spare will go on or you guys will pop it back on its bead. So I was pretty confident that I'll be driving it. Simply for the fact he started it. If he hadn't have started it, then I would have been a little more concerned.
So this front left tire is kind of buried in there. He's having trouble overcoming the power steering and getting it turned. So you don't see it all here, but I jumped in the hole and shoveled some of that dirt away from there. So now that it's clear to come forward,
Oh, there we go.
he starts driving forward. He doesn't have enough traction to get out of the hole, but he spins the tires, and now we're free and clear. So we're going to start pulling it back up out of the hole and use a little bit of tractive effort from the Jeep as we pull on the ropes. You'll see it start coming forward here.
Turn to the right. Just continue right tension.
Terry's saying, I'm trying. And it's not until we get the vehicle rolling that he can
Yeah,
actually
actually
turn
move
to
it.
the right. So here you see the tires coming to the right. It's not requiring a ton of effort to pull it up out of the hole at this point. So we're going to slowly pull him up out of the hole. And you're going to see here in a second, just coincidentally, as it comes up out of the hole, that tire that we've broken off the bead is going to end up hanging in the air. And as I see that, I think, well, here's a perfect opportunity to reseat it on the bead. It's already in the air. There's no pressure on
Yeah.
it. I don't think we have video of the whole time airing it back up, but you're going to see in just a second that tire is going to be all the way up in the air. So right now it's sitting on all four tires. We don't have a lot of tension on that sideways rope. We're just going to keep it there in case something else breaks or falls. You don't go back in the hole. But you can see none of those ropes have a lot of tension
No.
on them right now.
It's all basically under its own power and weight.
Yep, we're gonna drive up, keep a little tension on it to make sure we don't slide back into the rocks. And you're gonna see here in just a second, I realize that that front right tire is gonna be all the way up in the air.
You know, I didn't notice that.
Now you're up and out on that angle.
You can kind of see on this side, you've got a broken mirror. Looks like the fender's dented a little bit, but I don't really see any
Yeah.
dents in the sheet metal.
Yeah, it gave me a great excuse. No, the sheet metal just under the mirror is where it's scratched. The fender is trashed, but it gave me a great reason to put liners in and new fenders.
So you may have done this on purpose?
You know, in the back of my mind, that might have been the purpose. I said, you know what? If I just crash this thing, maybe my wife will let me buy new stuff.
There you go. So people are going to tell you, don't get in the triangle of death. You don't want to be near these ropes while they're under tension. At this point, you saw some of the ropes going slack. There's not much tension on them. We've kept them on there just to make sure nothing moves or slides. But you saw the ropes hanging. I went over there, pulled the traction boards out of the way. And about right in here, we realized that that tire is going to be completely up in the air. So we're going to stop and air that tire back up, reseat it on the bead while we're still here in the trench.
It's a beautiful day for a crash, though.
It was a beautiful day. This was late summer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
September, maybe? Yeah, it's gorgeous. Not a lot of cloud cover. You can tell there's a little bit of breeze. It was actually a beautiful day to be out jeeping with your friends.
Yeah.
And, thanks for donating your Jeep to this training event. I'm glad so there you see that right front came up off the ground. So I realized, hey, here's a perfect opportunity. That thing's hanging. We don't have to put any straps or anything to try to force that tire back on the bead. So we're going to stop right there. You can see the winch rope on the right is actually hanging a little loose.
Oh, yeah.
So we leave them on there just to make sure nothing goes anywhere, but there's not really any stress on them. It's just kind of holding everything in place. So we're going to pop the hood, get an air compressor. We're going to reseat that tire and essentially just pull you back out. I think we wired or taped that mirror up. So you
We taped it up real well with duct tape. It solves all mysteries. But
other than that, you drove home, right?
I drove home just fine. Bought a new mirror, bought all new fenders, and didn't spill the liquids in the back, which is cool. Nothing else was broken. Just even my antenna didn't take a beating.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that till you just pointed out.
Yeah. It was weird.
So we cut out the airing up because you don't want to watch the air compressor run for several minutes. But that tire is now aired up with the magic of television, and we're about ready to pull him back up the rest of the way. You know, the cool thing about this, Keith, I've told people before when we show up on recoveries like this, we've been to places where people have actually left in helicopters, in ambulances.
Yes.
Broken bones, serious injuries. We've had vehicles leave on trailers and tow trucks and stuff. And, you really got off easy with the best of a bad situation.
Yes.
You got a little bit of paint. You got the fenders you wanted. You probably had to buy a new mirror. I'm guessing you left a couple scratches on the paint because you drive it off-road anyway. But you weren't injured. Didn't cost you a ton of money. Get to hang out with some buddies for a couple hours and pull it out, and now we get to make a cool video out of it and share it with some other people. But other than that, anything you want to throw in there to sum this up?
Yes. Anytime you go off-roading, take SNORR with you. I don't think I have a run yet without SNORR.
There's always somebody somewhere. And the interesting thing is, at the end of this, we're all members of SNORR in this video. We weren't on duty at the time. It wasn't an official SNORR call. But it's always fun getting to play with your gear and get to pull it out. And we probably didn't need that many winches. We probably didn't need that much gear, that much pulley. But more gear is always safe.
More
and
is
you can get
better,
the job done.
And it makes for a good video.
Well, thanks for coming out and playing, Keith.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for being there. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, no problem. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Hopefully it's not under these circumstances.
I don't need a third crash. Just doing well. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Keith.